Welcome back on deynonmod. Today I want to propose you the analysis of the new facts about Dark Imperium edition, 4th edition of Warhammer 40k, released by Games Workshop in the date of the 23 of July of the 2017. This is the analysis of only the new addition and the new modifying about the facts yet released in the previous one, and that you can find the analysis of the previous one up here in the schedule. So if you want to know the previous analysis, you can search there about, you can see the video about. Then we can start, and the first fact that we find it's about the rerolls, and it's the specifying about rerolls that involve more than one die. So in the case of 2d6, 3d6 and so on, if there is written to reroll, you can choose to reroll one of those dice. You have to reroll all those dice. So in this case, it's specified that the rerolling is for all the dice involved. Obviously, apart in the case that the reroll it's only about one die and you can choose, but it's had to be written in the rules itself. In more, there is the thing that if you reroll anyway, you have to reroll only once the dice, and these rerolls are not under the applying of the modifiers. So you have to reroll before applying the modifiers. Then the next one is the one about the choose melee weapons, and it declares as in all the games about Games Workshop, both there is X Warhammer Fantasy, Age of Sigmar, and even again Warhammer 40k, that each model possesses a close melee weapon, close combat weapon. That is the thing that it's also specified in the fact under, that it's not new one, but it's about the rank 0 of the weapon. So each model has, and each model can combat. The next new fact instead, it's one of the main changing in the playing, because it changed completely some way of playing that it started to do caused by the battalions. Because it refers that if you don't have the models at the end of a turn, you are out, so you lose the game. But it's not the thing that it's most important. The most important thing that is specified in this fact is about the thing that flyers and fortification battlefield role units are not considered as value for these remaining models. So it means that if you are having only flyers or fortification battlefield units, you have lost the game if they are the only one on the field at that time. So it's a completely changing of the way of playing a certain type of games. So some amount of infantry, vehicles and so on that you can have, you have to deploy on the field, and not only for the thing that you have the flyers and you can win with only them. So you never only have the air flight and nothing else. It's a really important thing and completely change a type of thoughts that are starting to be done about competitive game. The next one, it's not a complete fact, it's an adding to a previous fact yet existing, and it's about the understrength units. This is a fact that when analyzed it in the previous analysis of the facts, of the previous facts, I said that it was useless. Now with this fact it's become useful, because it's about the matched play games, and it's referring to the understrength units, where it says that you can yes play an understrength unit, but if you are playing it, it has to be part of the support detachment, the auxiliary support detachment. This is important because it means that in a normal game where you have at maximum 3 detachments, you can have a maximum 2 of these understrength units, because one detachment you have to have, otherwise you'd have 2 less points to play, because if you are only playing understrength units, you are playing really small amount of points, so it's useless. So it means that in a normal game you can have a maximum of 2 of unstranded units. So this is quite important as fuck, because it changes a bit of approaching to a game for someone that wanted to find some loop about it. The next one is not a complete new fuck, but it's a modifying of a previous fuck, and it's about the ruins. This is the changing that it's quite subtle, and it's about the infantry units now have to have entirely on or within a ruin to receive the benefit of the cover. Instead, before, it was simply that the infantry units had to have completely on a ruin to retrieve the benefit of the cover. So now change from only on a ruin to on a ruin or within a ruin. So it changed a bit the way to approach and how to utilize the ruin itself. So it's a bit subtle as modifying, but it's a bit important to take note about it. So it's okay that there is such a fuck in this case. Then about the general questions, there is only a new fact to take note about. And there is the question about the tactical reserve in the case of multiple units that consist of, for example, the Tau battlesuit and their drones and so on, that there will be more units if they are considered a single unit or several units. And there is the specification that in this case they need only one roll because it's considered a single unit for this case. So it's a bit more than correct specifying, but it's good that there is. And now we can start to talk about the max ingress of facts of this new releasing. And it's about the session about unit and weapons abilities. Here we start with the fact that it's about if both players have units with abilities that allow them to set up during deployments after both arms are deployed. So here it's specified that the players have to roll off a die and see which one win. The winner decides who start first to the deployment of these units. So this is something that it was predictable working so based on the previous editions of 40k and the other games of Game Workshop. But anyway, it's a good thing that there is such a rule explicited. Now there is an interesting rule that it's the part about, for example, the units that are the Terminators, that are teleport homers, or other units that are similar psychic powers or so on, in the case of redeployment of the unit. And it declares that such units are considered arrived from the battlefield as a reinforcement, deploying them again. So it means that they can't move again using it because they are considered as arrived as a reinforcement, and moreover they are subject to the penalties about the heavy weapons. So it's quite important as modifying because the using of such a type of powers and rules, we have to remember, for example, the assault Terminator and the shooting normal Terminator have the thermal teleport homer. So it's quite important about this one because it let redeployment units even at the other part of the field. So it's a rule that it's quite interesting about. And the follow one, it's similar correlated to the previous one. This is about units that are within 1 inch from enemies, so in close combat, and decide to remain stationary. And then decide to use teleport homers and so on to redeploy them. And it says that they are not considered as being fallen back. So it means that are completely available to do other things. For example, shooting and so on. So doesn't let the weapons that are subjected to not firing or firing are 6 falling back to be able to fire. So it's quite important as a new fact added and resolve a problem that could have consisted in this type of applying of the rules. Next, we continue with a fact that it's not so common, but anyway, it's quite important to know for the specific case in which happened. And it's about the eventual ability that instead to resolve an attack with a different characteristic. So, the fact answers that when resolving such an attack, you have to change the relevant characteristic, so the main value, to the new one, and the modifiers are applied after. So it can be really important how to apply this thing, and in the few cases that it's concerned about, it's quite important to take note of this. The next one instead it's about multiple ignoring wounds saving, but they are not relating to the saves, for example the armor or the invulnerable one. You have to remember that you can choose only the armor or invulnerable, but after it you normally don't have other saves. With this specification, it means that if you are, for example, a warlord trait and the Feel No Pain and so on, they are both applicable. So it means that you can really save much more than otherwise stated. So it's a thing that you have to take note for, moreover, for some special models. The next one, instead, I think that it's a limited application, but anyway quite important to resolve, because it states that in the case you have a unit that can halve the damage that is suffered, for in this case Manuscargar, but there are not only them, it's that you round the damage, not the total damage that is suffered, but on each attack that is suffered. So it's quite important, but because if, for example, if you applying after and you suffer, for example, 4 damage, you would suffer 2 damage instead based on attacks, considering that each attack can do 1 damage. Now you have to remember that each damage will be halved, so it will be half damage. For the rule about the damaging, it will be taken to the next up number, integer number, so it will be 1 damage. So on 4 attacks that do 1 damage each, now it's specified that do 4 damage, so it's quite an important thing, moreover because these models that are the voice will be much more stronger. So it's quite important as fact, even if applied only on few cases. The next fact is a bit a blow up, because it changes a bit the relationship about the saving throwing. Because it states that in the case I have an ability that allows me to saving throwing adding 1 to them, it's applying both to the normal one and to the invulnerable throws. Usually it's for the ones that plays Warhammer 40k games and so on for a lot of time, the invulnerable saves are considered immutable, so they are fixed, except really great exceptions. But anyway, it's such a thing that they are untouchable. Now, stating this, it's quite important. Obviously, there is also the remembering that the covers bonus are not applying to the invulnerable province ones. But anyway, this change it's quite important, because it means that units that have invulnerable saves can have them improved. Not by covers, okay, but anyway improved. It's really an important modification and really important thing to take note about. Instead, the follow one, it's a thing obligate that had to be done. Anyway, it was, I think, obvious, but anyway, it states that units that are the ability that have denied the witch have a range for applying it of 24 inch. So it's important such thing because it states the amount of the inch that it can be applied. It's not something particular, but anyway, it's important to take note about. And we finish with the last fact that it's about a mission, that it's the Spoil of War mission. And sincerely, I think that the players that want to play this can take note about it. It's not so important as a fact, so I leave them take note about it. Anyway, I hope that you liked this video. I remember you that there is the previous video about the facts that complete this one. I invite you to put a like on this video, to share the video. I invite you to subscribe to the channel and to ring the bell. And hope that you like this channel and you see the next video that will soon exit. From deynonmod, it's everything. To the next time!